Romania, the vastness of empty and wild mountains with a well-developed network of roads and trails. During our 6 days spent here, we did not meet any tourists. Perfect place for a mountain bike. Today I would like to present you a few bike roads in the Romanian mountains. Let's start with Munții Latoriței. The length of the road is 40 kilometers with a total of 1,100 meters of ascent. Latoriței is the smallest part of the mountain group to the east of the city of Petroșani. It is situated between the more famous Retezat and Fagaraș mountains. However, it's not much inferior to them. We start gently. We came across beekeepers soon. Oh, I don't think that's the way. We should go more to the right. Unfortunately, a path that is good at the beginning turns much worse. Its quality not only gets poor, but also becomes very steep. But the views are wonderful. For almost 700 meters of our climbing, we managed to ride our bikes only for a while. We pushed the bikes uphill for the remaining parts. And there is a cable car going up the hill right next to our trail. Well, we have chosen the road by ourselves. It's also possible to get to the top from asphalt road called Transylvania. Either way, we are finally on the ridge. Got up near the water reservoir used for making snow on the ski slopes. The ski resort is quite impressive. It's worth coming here in winter. Later on, there will be no steep climbs anymore. As I mentioned earlier, Latoriței is the smallest and lowest of the 6 ranges of this mountain group. As in most Romanian mountains, there is no reserve here. And apart from tourism, there is also a thriving farming economy, specifically pastoralism. Hence, there is a well-developed network of dirt roads enabling access to the shepherds' huts. Oh, this young bull looked at me a bit oddly. The kilometers fly by and we are approaching the most beautiful central part of the Massif. To the south, a very deep valley of the Latorita river separates this Massif from the Capățanii mountains, which means the school mountains. Let's be honest about this. It's hard to find such thing in the Western Europe. Such place, good road and no tourists at all. And the views are breathtaking. Look for yourselves. Behind a small pass, a further part of the Massif is revealed to us. It's a bit more rocky. From the north, the Latoriței mountains are separated from the Lotru mountains by the dam lake Vidra. The forecast for the afternoon is not very good. Therefore, we decided to climb down earlier than planned. Apparently, there is supposed to be a way down through the forest. Somewhere.
Drum de jos. Principale de sus.
A man we met says it is, but is very poor. He says the main one is going upstairs. No worry, we'll go according to the original plan. In the mountains we often meet sheep, and where are sheep, there are dogs. Dogs in the Romanian mountains have a very bad reputation. Luckily, this one doesn't seem to be aggressive. In case of trouble, it is said that throwing stones is the most efficient way. It starts to rain. We protect our electric bikes from rain more than ourselves. It's over, but unfortunately black clouds are circling all around. It's raining like a hell at the lake.
Jechać.
We have to get off the ridge as fast as possible. Which is good for us, the pass is not far away. We begin a hasty descent. It's a pity, because the area is really beautiful. Well, it got us a little. Our tarps came in handy. Fortunately, the main storm passed by. It barely bothered us. We go down to the pass. From this point we only have an easy and a bit monotonous ride down the asphalt road to close the loop. Now let's move to the nearby Sureanu mountains. The second road that I would like to introduce is located here. It's clearly easier than the previous one. Most of it goes with very good quality gravel road, approved for car traffic and the number assigned. After reaching the top, we will be moving mainly on quite flat terrain. We start in Luncile Prigoanei, colony of guest houses. Hence a very comfortable road is going up all the time. We pass another colony of guest houses and restaurants and continue to the top. We can see why all those guest houses were built for. This is the Domeniul Scabil Sureanu ski resort. Honestly, it's even weird. The whole resort is 3 small lifts. We are all the time on the road number 709K. Who would be so crazy to drive a car here? Finally, we turn up towards the highest peak of the Sureanu Massif, Varfa lui Patru, 2130 meters high. The peaks of Sureanu are quite mild, one might say flat, sometimes only undercut with small glacier cauldrons. Behind the valley, the peaks of the highest massif of this mountain group, called Parang, are visible. The highest of them exceeds 2500 meters above sea level and it's one of the highest in Carpathian mountains. We skip climbing and go down the low. Now we're trying to reach the southern end of the mountain's middles. Some bumps, but it's just an improvised shortcut. Another good road through the forest and we emerge on the edge of the meadows, where the road leads to 2 shepherds' orchards. It's how the roads goes here, one good road to the ridge and branches to all farms. After a short conversation with the shepherd Peter, densely interwoven with gestures, he invites us for a tsuika and excellent fresh sheep cheese made by him. I can assure you, both of those products taste perfect, only saved by the producer. Those you can buy in the store are not the same. We say goodbye to the hospitable host and with a wavy moves, we continue our ride. First, we go back to the ski resort area. We want to go a little more to the north. It's a bit harder here. First, quite uphill along the T-bar lift. Then we have a quite steep, long and rocky traverse on the summit called Sureanu. It's a bit too steep here, but the views are beautiful again. After overcoming the traverse, we go to a very flattened area. And here goes an interesting fact. On the flat summit of Komarnicel, visible in the distance, almost 2000 years ago, during Dacian Wars, Romans located 2 of their military camps. Their task was to keep Sarmisegetusa, a capital city of Dacians, located a few kilometers further down the hill. We walk around a flat area for a while. We came from down there. Actually, when you get up here, you can hike around as much as you want. The views are beautiful and the terrain is almost completely flat. We still have to go to the peak of Sureanu, which is only slightly higher than 2000 meters. We can see both the ski resort and the highest point of the Massif from here. Time for us to go down. We go back the same way. A bit over the stones. A bit like skiers. And a bit like cars. Oh, pardon, just a little faster. At the end we meet one of Romanian reptiles. As we think, it's not a very poisonous meadow viper. The third trip, and it's by far the most difficult, not only we reach the peak of Sindrel, which is 2244 meters high, but a significant part of it leads along a narrow hiking trail of alpine character. The total sum of the climbs is the 1300 meters, and we start with 500 meters climb, then we go much lower than the start point and return here uphill. We start at the Stefleszty Pass, which with some travel is accessible by a car. It lies equidistant from the two peaks, almost identical in height, both highest in their massifs. Stefleszty in the Latorita mountains, this is the one behind, and the Sindrel in the Sindrel mountains. We are just climbing. The road, which was very steep at the moment, flattens a bit, but still is rocky and uncomfortable. We are even more impressed by a small group of Czechs. We passed them with a car 15 kilometers ago and 800 meters below. They swept like a wind, pausing just to get water from the stream and of course without any electric boosters. We ride with them to the ridge at an altitude about 2200 meters. It's windy and cloudy, and it's not far to the top. The Czechs put their jackets on and disappear into the fog. Hats off, what tough guys. We slowly go after them. The Sindrel peak, as I mentioned, is 2244 meters high. We'll not see much of it today, but the height for a bike ride in the Carpathians really impressive. A short stop, a rest behind the rock before the rest of our trip. Ahead of us there is a ridge about 12 kilometers long, most of which is an irregular road, often only a narrow mountain path. This year is basically deserted here. Those Czechs are the only exception. We move along the ridge path. At the beginning we have a lot of downhill runs. Only from a distance we observe Jezerul Mare, a glacial lake with a strangely Slavic name. It's one of the largest of its kind in Romania. Further on, the road runs along a fairly level ridge. Sometimes it becomes a path, sometimes it leads over the stones. Overall, it's a true mountain trail. We are slowly approaching the crossroads. You can choose to go down to a small cabin and return to the ridge, or continue along the ridge through the mountain pine. We choose mountain pine. The path is quite clear, only a little overgrown. Strangely, if now, in the middle of beautiful summer, there is no one here except a handful of cyclists, of course, how the path is not our ground with a vegetation. In our Polish Tatras, in such area, we would already met a million of tourists. At times, the thicket of mountain pine make it difficult to ride, so much that we push our bikes. Finally, after some time, we ease up and we drive slowly towards the road. We're somewhere about halfway along the ridge. We'll go much faster from here. And it is good because it's getting late. And the distance to be covered is still long. We drove almost the eastern end of the Massif. At some point we can see the buildings of the beautiful city of Sibiu, one of the famous cities of Transylvania. And to think that driving around the mountains by car, you need almost 4 hours to get there. We met a single herd of sheep. The road keeps getting better. And slowly we are approaching the end of our road along the ridge. We are now about 200 meters of steep descent, quite rocky to ride. We leave the mountain meadows and plunge into the forest. It's quite a lonely area, far from civilization. After a short while, we reach the Transylvania road. This road is also approved for car traffic. The number is 106N. But, like on the previous trip, it's just a gravel road lost in the mountains. Wait a moment, isn't it? From here, out of nowhere, in the middle of the wilderness, we met a team that is renovating this road, just like that, from the middle. We keep rushing down. Here and there, some vast panoramas unveil. But it also ends, and we sink deeper into the forest. The descent is quite solid. It's 500 meters downhill and about 12 kilometers. Finally, we reach the road running along the bottom of the valley. We just descended half of the kilometer. And now we have to go half a kilometer up to the start point. Such idyllic views make our way pleasant. Oof, it's not so far from here. Yet only a few hundred meters to the pass from where we started our today's journey. And here we close this very nice loop. Now we move to the mountains of Apuszeni, to the Fladeasa Massif. Well, I was supposed to present 1 or 2 tours from this region. But unfortunately, my engine burned out. It completely blocked my wheel, and the bike is not even suitable for riding downhills. What you can do in Romania without a bike? Well, you can walk in the mountains on your feet. Apuszeni, the West Romanian mountains, are slightly lower than those we were before, but still, it's a huge mountain range. In a few different places, peaks exceeds 1,800 meters. By the way, traveling by car around Romania can be an adventure in itself. This road is closed for renovation for 2 years. It's closed yet open. Another pure car attraction. It's the so-called Transalpina road. One of the two decent high mountains roads in Romania. Renovated in 2008, it climbs up to 2,145 meters above sea level, which makes it the highest road in Romania. There are so many turns that traveling it takes hours. Still, it's a very convenient way to go to high mountain effortlessly, for a hiking trip or for one of the previously described bicycle tours. This time the parent mountain, more than 2.5 kilometers high, are drowning in fog. You can also visit the caves of Romania. They are very beautiful. Fortunately, not necessarily the show caves. This one sucks completely, for example. The Massif cave in the Apușeni mountains in the Pădurea-Craiului Massif is much better. But that's nothing comparing the local caves inaccessible to tourists, such as, for example, Cetățile Ponorului, the highest cave opening in Europe. Anyone can walk around it, but only professional cavers with permit can enter it. All in all, I don't know if everyone can go around. It's a bit scary here. The path goes just near the abyss. This karst phenomena is located in the heart of the Bihor mountains. We were supposed to get here on our bicycles from the nearby Massif. Well, next time. Finally, let's go underground again. This time to an amusement park called the Turda Salt Mine. I mean, the mine is real. Salt was dug here even in Roman times. Those caverns come from the end of the 19th century. They are really huge. In the 90s of the last century, they were timidly presented to tourists. It was just a march, a long one added with a few light bulbs. The idea took hold, and here it is. The whole underground fanfare. Some work is underway in the following caverns. I wonder what else they will prepare for us here, but we deviated a bit from the topic of bicycles. I invite you to the next episodes.